100,000. Now, Oregon's gun control laws, not particularly different from Tennessee. Why is there such a big difference? Could it be that gun control policies have very little effect on murder rates?
Yep.
A CDC analysis performed in 2003 of 51 gun control studies, quote, found insufficient evidence to determine the effectiveness of any of the firearms laws reviewed for preventing violence. The results were all over the place.
Skipping.
People, 16.27 homicide rates among blacks, 5.24 among Hispanics, 1.74 among whites, and 0.95% among Asians.
That's a murder rate.
So blacks have well over 9 times the homicide rate of whites, Hispanics about 3 times, and of course Asians a little more than half. This is from 2014. The numbers were fairly obscure prior to that because until 2013, crime statistics tended to blend Hispanics in with whites. Now that has been broken out. So the rate will look at the black population as a percentage and the murder rate per 100,000. Now, the national average for the black population, about 13% of the U.S. population, again, murder rate, which I stand by, as strongly, if not more strongly now than when I first wrote it. If you are for gun control, then you are not against guns. This point 1-6. That's where the problem. Working on trying to get out, simply saying, well, if we reduce the poverty rate, as the poverty rate declines, property crime shoots through the roof. The correlation is minus 0.59. That is staggeringly, appallingly horrible. So this compares overall property crime rates and poverty for each year between 1960 and 2014. So the normal places, the natural places where people look for answers with regards to gun violence and gun control are false, are incorrect. Now, of course, you may be asking yourself, what is the answer? Well, we're working on it, and we're putting together a presentation, The Truth About Crime, where we go into. We have some tentative theses, which we're working on trying to get out to you. But again, we rely on your donations, freedomainradio.com/donate to help us out. So, I mean, let's just talk honesty. Everybody says, well, we want a real conversation about gun control. We want real conversations about race. But then when you bring data, some people are like, oh, no, too much reality. Well, sorry, but we need to bring facts because we need people to have the correct information when they are talking about things like gun control. America does not have a problem with gun control. America, it seems, has a problem with violence within the black community and within the Hispanic community. But good job, Asians, at not shooting people. Now, of course, I, like you, like every other decent person in the world, wants less violence, less crime, less homicides, fewer thefts, and so on. But that requires that we first address where the problems are really occurring, which is in the black community, to a large degree, in the United States. And there's lots of black leaders who agree with me, so these are just facts. We do want fewer black bodies hitting the floor. Hiding the relationship between blacks and crime is even worse than hiding the relationship between smoking and lung cancer, because smoking you do to yourself. But you think of these poor black kids who are shot in drive-by shootings and gang violence and so on, have to grow up with bars in the windows and so on. It is a tragic and horrifying life, and it's not just because of poverty. There are other issues at play. Toxic culture has been identified by a lot of black intellectuals as to why there's so much violence in the black community. Single motherhood is another factor that's been identified by a wide variety of thinkers. There are other factors which we're going to work in our next presentation.
Anyway, this guy is The Truth About Gun Control. He's Stephen Molnix. If you want to hear the whole thing, I would go check him out there. But I think he's pretty much spot on. How about you, Ghost?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the stuff that he said is true. In all honesty.
Yeah.
Especially, I hate talking about, like he said, a lot of it has to do with the black community, the Hispanic community, where there's a lot of gang stuff. And that's it. It expects, back when it was introduced into the country, Shared over was introduced into the country back, I think it was the 70s and 80s. And that's where a lot of that stems from, because you had a lot of homicide overdoses, you had a lot of death, you shot and killed directly the next point back. And who are either, raised by the parents, or not both, but one of the parents were raised by the grandparents. And so there's a huge disconnect there. And sitting there for the Hispanic community, it goes back to almost the same shit. It all correlates down to drugs, drug dealers, the pushers, and the ideology of, I've seen it 1,001 times when I worked in corrections, especially in the juvenile community. They have this mindset. They see these rappers on TV, like TV or PT or whatever, so flying around in jets and private jet jobs and all this shit. They're idolizing that. They're idolizing the aspect of murdering somebody, raping a woman, and killing people. They idolize that shit. They think it's life. That's the end all be all what they want to achieve, and it's a false reality. So they get caught up in this game of, okay, well, I want to be a gangster, so I'm going to have to do X, Y, and Z. Well, Z's the end of the line for you because you're either going to overdose, die, or be shot, or whatever, arrested. And I think that's where the biggest part of it lies is there's a huge disconnect there.
Yeah.
And honestly, the government needs to address that disconnect. And I know there's a lot of, leaders in the black community that are pushing for, the government to step in and try to help out with all these disconnects.
Well, I think that's what he was trying. Well, I think that's what he was trying to talk about, though, dude. He's trying to talk about that culture that's going on in the black, that toxic culture where you continue to utilize all that toxic bullshit, and they, you know what I mean? The way that they talk, in those particular areas. What he's saying is it has nothing to do with poverty. It has that minimalizes it. I mean, because I'm gonna tell you straight up, my kids got in trouble for stealing when they were kids.
Yep.
Well, we weren't that wasn't poverty.
Yeah.
So I mean, it has nothing to do with poverty. What it has to do with is the way that they're brought up in their households. And I gotta tell you that the single mom thing is a fucking bitch, dude. It's hard to do.
Oh, I was married prior to my marriage now.
Yeah.
And I was married for almost 9 years. And myself and my ex, we have, a daughter. She's 11. And, she's adult. When my ex and myself were together, as she was growing up, getting older and stuff like that, like, I instilled into her the way I was raised. I was raised in a very strict home.
Yeah.
Very strict. And she knows, like, when she's around me, she knows. If I say her middle name, I swear to God, I feel so bad. I give her 3 middle names. But she knows. If I say her middle name, she knows. She's got whatever she's doing. She's got to stop.
Yeah.
And now that she's 11, she's going to dances. She's in cheerleading. She does a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
But she's a good kid. She doesn't. Now on the other side of that, I had cousins that would steal just because, for whatever reason. And then, as I was working for Sears and Loss Prevention for a year, we had, out of all the stops that I had 37 stops in, God, the last 6 months I was there. And I had a few here and there when I first started, but you have a 90-day grace period where you have to go through certain tests before you can be actually certified as a loss prevention officer for Sears. And Sears no longer has loss prevention in it before they cut it out to make money, but when I was working there, the majority of my stops were either young kids or females. And ironically, and I'm not bashing women, but ironically, the number one thing is it's white Caucasian females that steal. And that is a true statistic. Every stop that I had was dealing with a female. 95% of the time.
Yeah.
And it's crazy. I mean, a lot of it stems from people stealing for drugs, but when it comes to, like, the kids are stealing because they can. And the ironic thing is, I don't know how many times I've stopped teenagers. They would, like, especially younger girls, they would go into the fitting room with baby suits on, or to go in and buy, try them on, whatever, and they would slip them on over her bras and panties and try to walk out the door with them. and I would have an assistant, that would go out, and I would have them on the phone, and I would tell them, like, they need that fitting room. You go in and tell me that merchandise is still there. If it's not, I automatically have to stop because if the merchandise isn't in that fitting room, or if they don't bring it back out with them, that's it. It's a proven fact that they have it either in a bag on them or on their body themselves. And I saw 2 females, and it was kind of funny because when they came out, they went to the exit. I was already on site waiting. They walked out the door. So I'm run back in and question them. And it resulted in pretty much their parents. One was an attorney. One was a fucking really uptight in the medical aspect of things. I think she was I don't know what they call it. She's a triage nurse. She's head of the triage for the ER. And they had money. It was just the fact that they wanted it. They didn't want to pay for it.
Yeah.
I think I've stopped one Hispanic guy. He got pissed off at his wife, so he decided he was going to go do something stupid. So he can't do the support trying to steal rented. For whatever reason, I don't know. But that's what he did. And then I had one guy come in, African American came in, took his shoes off. We had cameras all over the store. I had a camera that I could zoom through one side of the store to the other, and I could read what the hell's on your watch, like the time. And that's how good our system was. And the guy came into the shoe department, took his shoes off, put them in the box, put the shoes that were in the box on his feet, started looking at the door. They got the heat tag on, the price tag, and he didn't care. He just walked in, grabbed me, called me, like, and walked out. And I chased him through the mall, on car, stopped him, and got him back. And it's crazy what people will do.
I know, I hear you, brother, and that's just sometimes the way shit rolls for us as Americans. We got to deal with everybody's crap, and we got to do it the best way we can. To go on the war with each other is not going to solve the problem. It's just going to escalate the situation, and that's what they want. But here's what I want to. This goes out. One of my son's friends, Seth. He had a young corporal Marine who was killed in combat, and he did. His name is Terry Honeycutt, and he did a "You and Me" guitar cover.
When did he pass away?
Is 2010, I believe. They had a big service for the kid. His name is Terry Honeycutt. You remember him?
I don't know if I've seen anything pop up on my newsfeed about him. I get a lot of that stuff from.
It was quite some time ago. I think it was in. I really honestly think he was killed in 2010. So. Yeah. All right, hold on, guys. I'm going to play this for you. It's really sweet, and I think the kid deserves some props and to be properly honored for his service.
Amen.